Welcome to Ohio FFA Career Connection. Throughout this series, we will explore just a few of the vast career opportunities in Ohio agriculture. Whether you want to work on a farm or in an office, laboratory, field, or classroom, FFA prepares us to be successful. Together, we'll get to know various professionals and learn how we can jumpstart our future careers while still in FFA. Let's get started. I'm excited to be chatting with Taylor Schilling, Production Manager at Trillium Farms. Thanks for being here, Taylor.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start off about talking about your background. How did you come to work in agriculture?
Well, growing up, my parents did not have a farm or work in agriculture in any way, but my babysitter did. She had a farm and she would let kids in the area that didn't have a place to keep their animals keep them there. So I was there in the summer watching all these other kids with their animals, and I told my parents, I think I want to do that too next year. And they thought I was crazy at first because we had no idea what we were doing. But it started off a lifelong passion for me. Back then, I was involved with pigs. I showed pigs for 10 years at the Clark County Fair. I worked with different breeders in Clark County, worked with show feed companies, all those different types of things. Went to the Ohio State University in 2017 and majored in animal science industry with a minor in ag business and applied economics. I was there for 3 years, graduated with my bachelor's of science in agriculture last May 2020 grad, right in the middle of the pandemic. And I knew graduating college that I wasn't going to be able to get my dream job right off of the bat. I knew I was going to have to broaden my horizon from just pigs. So I started looking anything to do with animals. I knew that's where I wanted to start my career, which is how I found Trillium. I knew some other people in college that had interned with Trillium in the past. I had heard that it was a good company to work for. I didn't have much experience with poultry, it being a chicken farm, but I've learned a lot in the last year. It's been a great experience learning all about the poultry industry, chickens, egg production, all of that. It's been a big change, but it's definitely been interesting and worthwhile.
Now, throughout your time in high school and FFA, did you always know you were going to be an animal science major or go into industry in animal production?
I actually had a different idea back in high school. Like I said, I showed pigs, so I thought it was really fascinating to see how different diets and different supplements in the feed would change how the animal looked. I thought that was super cool. And back then I thought I wanted to be an animal nutritionist because I liked that. So I actually went into college being a food science major. I thought that I wanted to be a nutritionist, formulate feed, do those kinds of things. And I took a couple of nutrition classes and quickly learned that that was not going to be for me. Nothing against that, but it was a lot of math, and that's not my strong suit. So I kind of switched up a little bit at that point and realized, okay, I know I don't want to do the nutrition aspect as much. So what do I like to do? Well, I like to be around animals in any aspect. And my advisor at the time said, well, why don't you just major in animal science? That'll cover all of it. So I did learn some nutrition, not in depth as I thought I was going to, but got to more encompass every part of the animal with their health, welfare, nutrition, all of that.
Were you able to take advantage of any internship opportunities or work experiences in college or high school that kind of helped you defer from the path of food science to now animal science?
In college, I interned at Thompson Show Feeds in Wilmington, Ohio. They focus on show feed for pigs specifically, but we also made some formulas for cattle and poultry as well. I really liked that experience. I really liked seeing how the mill worked, looking at all the different rations of feed and things like that. But it also made me realize, okay, this might not be what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Once you get an internship or job shadowing opportunity in industry, Taylor, how do you make the most of it?
I would say keep an open mind, ask a million questions. There are no silly questions when you're in that situation. You're there to learn. That's the whole point of the internship. So ask every question you have, be curious. I know a lot of internship programs let you rotate through different jobs so you can experience a lot at a company. And I would encourage that as well. Explore every avenue that they have, because that's the greatest experience for you to learn is that internship for that little time that you have with that company. Just keep your eyes and ears open and absorb as much as you can.
Tell us a little bit about your FFA involvement. What was your home chapter in Clark County, and what did you enjoy about the opportunities you were given?
I was an FFA for 3 years in the Northwestern Clark chapter. I showed pigs for 3 years in FFA, and I also showed a duck 1 year, my senior year. My favorite parts of FFA were honestly livestock judging and soil judging. I did both of those on multiple levels, county, district, etc. But overall, I would say my favorite part of FFA was my advisor. She treated our class like adults, which that's something you really want when you're in high school. I think you want to be a grown-up. And she said, I'll treat you like grown-ups if you act like grown-ups. And so that kind of dynamic with our teacher really, I think, gave us a sense of maturity, responsibility, and growing up. And I think that has stuck with me, obviously, throughout college and now in my career. And that's been the most impactful part of FFA for me personally.
How do you think FFA prepared you for a career, not only in agriculture, but just as a career professional? Was it those CDE competitions? Kind of give us an insight to how FFA prepared you for a career.
Well, like I said, I think FFA obviously gives kids a sense of responsibility and maturity with those SAE projects. Obviously, you're taking care of a living being, whether that's livestock or plants, etc. You're going through your budget, you're thinking about money, taxes, all those different types of things that prepare you for the real world. But also in FFA, you do a lot of public speaking. I think that's also really impactful for your career, especially in my role as management. You cannot be shy to talk in front of others and make big presentations for the boss or the boss's boss. And so those types of situations when you're younger in an FFA in high school really helped prepare me for the real world, being comfortable talking in front of others, being confident in myself, those types of things.
Taylor, could you tell us a little bit about your primary responsibilities at Trillium?
Sure. So I'm one of two managers at my site in Marseilles, Ohio. Trillium has several sites in Ohio. We have table egg plants and breaking plants. So the table egg is obviously what you see in the cartons at the store. And my plant, the breaking plants, sell liquid eggs. So we can sell whole egg or the egg white or the egg yolk. We sell those to a distributor. And at any given time, we have 2 million birds on site. So we have a lot of birds to take care of on top of a whole team of employees. So we need multiple managers to make sure everybody is where they need to be and everything's running smoothly. Obviously, our primary responsibility as management is to maintain the health and welfare of all of those birds. We need to make sure they have access to water 24/7. They have the appropriate amount of feed. We don't want to feed them too much or too little. We have a target amount. We want to make sure all the equipment in the barns is functioning properly so they have proper ventilation and enough airflow, all those types of things. We also manage a small team of about 30 to 40 employees at any given time, which is maintenance technicians, electricians, flock specialists who take care of the barns and the birds, all types of different people. And of course, most importantly, we want to make sure the welfare is there. We have a zero tolerance for animal cruelty at our site. Obviously, we would not have jobs if the chickens were not there laying eggs for us. So we want to treat them with respect and dignity in life and in death. And that is our pretty primary focus. But of course, our overall goal is to provide the best quality egg products for our consumers and their families, of course.
Now, what does a day in the life of your position look like? Maybe what were you doing earlier today, or what's on your agenda for this afternoon?
So a typical day in the life would be I get on site, I go in the barns. We have 16 barns at my site. It varies from site to site, but we have 16. So when I get there in the morning, I'm going to walk all of my barns, make sure everything looks good, checking temperature, water, things like that. Once I make sure everybody's okay, I'm going to go back to the office, and we do a couple of reports every morning for feed intake, egg production, those types of things. So I'll do those reports and look over the numbers, make sure we're doing okay. Obviously, we want to be at maximum egg production all the time. So we're going to review those numbers, and if there's anything that doesn't look right, we'll talk about how we can improve to get those numbers up. And then the rest of the day, it really changes day to day based on what we have going on. Right now, we're doing a project where we're taking all the manure out of the barns on site. So we're doing a lot of work with that. Some days we'll be outside cleaning up the outside area. We'll walk the barns more thoroughly, every single aisle, check out all the birds, make sure they're doing okay. No 2 days look the same in my job. That's something that I really like about my position. It is never the same. Something is always popping up, it's always something to problem solve, and it really keeps us on our toes. But it's good.
That's cool to hear. And what education and training did you need to prepare you for this position? So you came in with an animal science degree. Did you have to go through additional training and certifications in order to manage a whole flock and the health and safety of it as well?
Yeah, so I went to college before I got this career. I know plenty of other managers in my company that do not have college backgrounds, and they can do the job just fine. I always say you learn the most on the job. You learn more than in the classroom, at least in this position. I learn something new every single day, and I don't know if there's a class that could prepare me for everything I've learned at work, but I have taken additional training since I've been at Trillium, since I did not grow up with a poultry background. So I recently took a course through Purdue University called the Shell Egg Academy and got my competency certificate in live hen production. And there's several classes like that people in my company take in a yearly, bi-yearly basis just to keep up to date with things. But really, there's no set education level required. Like I said, you learn most of it on the job.
You mentioned problem solving, and that's very important at any workplace. How have you developed problem solving throughout your career, and what does that look like on a day-to-day basis for you?
So my barns in my facility are 30 years old. So all of the equipment in there breaks on a daily basis, and the equipment can break in hundreds of different ways. So that's something that constantly my maintenance team and the management have to work together to kind of figure out how we can fix some of this equipment sometimes. We have to do research on different types of equipment or add-ons that we can put that would help fix the problem. Another thing is safety. Safety is a very big deal for our company. We spend a lot of time talking about safety, giving trainings to our people, those types of things. And we always encourage our employees to look for safety hazards before they become an issue and let us know so we can try to eliminate it. So, for example, a couple months ago, one of my employees said they thought they had a better idea of how to move drying fans that we have in the barns. They're big fans, and they have to raise them up with the height of the manure. And the way that we were doing it, two people had to do it together. They were not on a steady surface. It wasn't the greatest way to do it. So we all had to problem solve together. How can we make this easier, more safe task? We went through several different trial and error processes before we found one that works, made a little pulley system to hoist it up without the manual labor aspect. But that's just one example of every day, something comes up and we have to say, okay, what can we do now to try to fix it?
I think that's cool because you have both sides of the spectrum. You have management, so you get to kind of lead that discussion on problem solving. But you also mentioned you're in the barns every single day, like everyone else, and many of your other employees, and you get to actively work with those animals. That's really cool. What do you think one misconception about your position actually in farms or just in production poultry?
I think a big misconception when I tell people I work at a chicken farm is, oh, that's dirty work. It's probably really hard, and there's probably not a lot of thought that goes into it. Those are the things that I hear the most often. And from the outside looking in, you could say, oh, that's easy. You give the chickens some feed, some water, some air, and they'll be great. Well, if you've worked with poultry, you know they're very finicky. One day, they don't get enough feed or enough water, that's going to mess up their egg production for weeks or months to come in some scenarios. So I think a big misconception is how much thought and time goes into it. I've spent hours with my management team going through our feeding schedules, the light schedules, things like that to make sure everything is perfect so that they can achieve maximum production. And I also would like to say our barns are a little smelly because they're chickens, but it is not as bad as everybody thinks, I think, in their head. We keep it pretty clean for a farm, obviously. Try to keep it as clean and sanitized as possible, obviously. So
it seems like your operation is a very team-based lifestyle and team-based work experience as well. What are some of those types of positions, employees that you manage, and what does management look like on a daily basis for you?
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought up the team aspect because our slogan, I guess, as a company is one team. We work together. My company, I work for Trillium, but Trillium is owned by Versova, as you can see right here. So Versova owns all of these different farms right here in Iowa and in Ohio. And so we use one team as our slogan because we have sites in different states, different cities in those states, many different departments within those companies, and we all have to work together at some point to get the job done. So I'm really glad you said that about one team. I love that about this job. So not only as a company-wide aspect is it one team, but we also preach that with our employees, like you said. My team specifically, I have my maintenance technicians. I have 5 of those that obviously keep all the equipment running in the barns, and they are also in charge of making sure the chickens meet their feed targets every day. Then I have flock specialists that are in the barns every day. They pull mortality. They make sure all the equipment is looking good, running how it's supposed to, and they clean the barns so it doesn't get super dusty. I also have a pest control staff. So we have rodent control. We have a whole team called the fly team that sprays pesticides for flies, larvae, beetles, those types of things. We have electricians. We have people that work outside just to get rid of trash and those types of things. And that is just my department, the production department, which could also be called barns. And then on the other side of the site, there's the processing department, which we work with every day. They work in the breaker. So we have to work together because they can't break any eggs if we're not sending them out, and vice versa. So a lot of working together, a lot of collaboration. But when you have a great team like I do, it makes it a really fun day every day at work.
That's cool to hear. And when I think of poultry and egg production, I think of packaging those eggs and putting them out to the grocery stores. What does a breaking facility look like? How do you break so many eggs without getting any eggshells? There's probably a lot of technology put into that, but kind of inform us about that process.
Yeah, so our breaking facility, it's actually, the machine's called the breaker. So depending on what we want to produce that day, whether it's egg whites, egg yolks, or whole egg, it kind of looks a little different. But basically the eggs come from our barns, go through the washer and the sanitizer to get all of the nastiness off of the eggshells. And then through the breaking machine, it actually taps the egg, breaks it. And then if, say, we want just egg whites, it'll separate the yolk and take the yolk to an edible tanker, and then it'll send the white to a silo. So we have 5 big silos that stores the liquid egg until we send it out in tankers to the distributor. And like I said, we can do whole egg, whites, or yolks. So that's why we have so many silos, to keep it all separate. And the processing manager in that department keeps track of what they need to send out when. So let's say they need to send out whole eggs on Saturday. So they know today on Friday, they need to do all whole eggs, those types of things. They have a big tanker that's called the inedible tanker, which is where all the shells go. And they have 2 designated employees to watch the flow of liquid egg and make sure no shells or anything that shouldn't be in there does get in there. They make sure it's out. So
very cool. That's a fun process. And it's something I don't think many know about the poultry and egg processing industry. What are some skills that you've developed in your time at Trillium and in college that help you excel in your current career?
I think definitely since I've been at Trillium, one skill I've really tried to develop and work on is my Spanish speaking skills. My team is 90% Spanish speaking. And I took some Spanish in high school, but it didn't stick with me. So that's something I've really been trying to work on this whole time, because how can I be an effective manager if I can't even speak to my employees, right? So I've really developed my Spanish this year that I've been here. But going back to college, like I've said before, I felt like public speaking was something that really helped me out from high school and college. Being confident in myself, that's something that's also helped me in my career, since I'm fresh out of college, pretty young, and most of my team is older than me. So I have to be confident and be able to hold myself professionally so that my team, has that level of respect for me as management. And luckily, everything's gone great this whole year.
What do you enjoy most about your job? When you wake up in the morning, what excites you to go to work?
I love my job because it's something new every day. I can never predict what's going to happen, and it's always going to keep me on my toes. Like I talked about earlier, we're always problem solving, on our feet, on the go. It's not one of those jobs where you sit in the office all day and you're bored, twiddling your thumbs. It's definitely not that. We're always on the move, always on the go. And the other thing I really love about my job and my company is that it's very culture based. We're one team, and we really live that every day. It's not just a slogan for us. I know if I need help, I can call anybody in any department in Ohio or Iowa, and they'll drop everything to help me out. Same way if somebody calls me. And I think that's really great, and it makes for a great team culture.
Taylor, if there's a student sitting in the classroom watching this video right now and they're interested in a career in animal science and poultry and production management, what advice do you have for them as they explore this career area a little more?
I would say that if you're interested in poultry or in a career in that, I would start looking into it now. maybe taking a poultry SAE through FFA, taking courses in college if that's your route, geared towards poultry. I know myself, I took intro to poultry science my first year at Ohio State, and it was really just to fill a requirement for my major, but it's helped me a lot now that I'm in the poultry industry. So if you take multiple classes like that, that will help you out. Definitely look into the poultry companies that are around you, see if they offer internships, or maybe you could go on a tour, things like that, and just build relationships with people that are in the poultry industry. Maybe you already know some people, maybe you don't, and you need to start building those relationships because it will definitely help you out in the long run.
What can students start doing now in order to prepare for a career like yours? We talked about those internships, but what kind of mindset should students be having?
I would say if you have an idea about what you want to do for the rest of your life, definitely focus on that and work towards that, but don't limit yourself to other opportunities. I know I did that myself when I was younger and in high school, and luckily it didn't hinder me that much in my professional career. But you can have an idea of what you want to do and you can be really focused on it. And maybe there are other opportunities over here that you're not even seeing that might be a better fit for you. So I would say don't limit yourself, keep every opportunity open, and always keep your eyes and ears open.
If you could pinpoint one mentor, teacher, or experience that kind of gave your career a little different path and step forward, what is that experience or what is that person that's kind of encouraged you along the way?
I would say actually my FFA advisor. Like I said earlier, I took a duck my senior year in FFA. I had no clue what I was doing, and my friends and I honestly just did it as a laugh. Our FFA advisor did not think it was that funny because she was the one who had to actually teach us the whole time. But jokes over, we did get a couple of ribbons. And now that I'm here in the poultry industry, when I accepted my job, I called my FFA advisor and said, "Can you believe it that you were so mad that I took a duck back in high school and now I'm here managing a poultry company?" And she just laughed and said, "She taught me, she gave me the base skills that I needed and it worked out for the best." But jokes aside, she taught me a lot of life lessons, like I've said before, about maturity and just being an adult that have stuck with me this whole time. And I'm really grateful for that.
If you could leave one last thing for folks watching right now about your career, your educational path, what would that be?
Don't give up. It's definitely frustrating trying to figure out what you want to do the rest of your life. It could seem like there's so many different possibilities and you have no idea what you could want to do. I would say just don't give up on it. Explore all your different options and don't stop looking until you find something that you truly are happy with, because you shouldn't be unhappy in your job and in your career. There's millions of different opportunities out there. You just have to look and give them a chance.
Taylor, thanks for taking the time to share your career experience with Ohio FFA members today. FFA develops our potential and helps us discover our talent through hands-on experiences, which gives us tools to achieve real-world success. If you're interested in pursuing a similar career path to the one highlighted in this video, there's a couple ways in which you can get started. One option to dive in and learn more is through a supervised agricultural experience. While completing an SAE, you will cultivate valuable employability skills while gaining work experience as a volunteer, paid employee, or maybe even as your own boss. To learn more, talk to your ag teacher or visit saeforall.org. In addition, through career development events, you can put your knowledge to the test. Ohio FFA offers more than 40 CDEs. Here are a few CDEs that can help you further explore this career path. Ask your FFA advisor for more information about how to get involved. As FFA members, it's important for us to start making these connections and finding future possibilities that align with our interests. I hope that you enjoyed this episode of Ohio FFA Career Connection, which is made possible by Ohio Corn and Wheat. Thanks for tuning in.